This video contains distressing content of a violent nature, so if you're sensitive to that, maybe skip this one. 5 months ago, I posted a short covering a situation that had happened to a well-known Swedish streamer, rumored on local forums to be RatIRL. But given it was an active investigation, I didn't really want to go further than that. But yesterday, Rat himself went live on a secondary streaming account and then dropped a 40-minute video explaining everything. And it is actually a lot more serious than I had realized at the time. Like, this is genuinely one of the craziest streamer stories I've ever heard. This video is a factual breakdown of what happened. I'm gonna read my script in kind of a timeline-y format to keep it just to the facts for you guys. So Anton was 42 days into a subathon with just 20 hours remaining on the clock when the stream stopped without explanation. Following this, Rat went silent for 5 months, save for a few very brief appearances in his Discord. The reason why takes us to January 13th earlier this year. At approximately 9 AM, 3 men arrived at his home in Sweden. When his father answered the door, they immediately forced their way in and assaulted him with the stocks of their weapons. That's the hard wooden bit, usually. Anton came out of his room and walked straight into the barrel of a rifle being pointed at him. The men restrained him with tape and demanded he transfer cryptocurrency, but he didn't have any. The infiltrators then stayed for approximately 4 hours. For the first 2, they focused entirely on extracting crypto, and there's specific reasons why they wanted crypto over cash. Firstly, crypto is irreversible. Once a transfer goes through, there's no way to reverse it. But cash wire transfers to an unknown account get frozen immediately by the bank, almost automatically, I think, which is exactly what happened when the infiltrators tried. The bank locked everything and they wouldn't process it, full stop. And secondly, crypto is untraceable. It's extremely difficult to track where it goes after the fact, meaning the police have very little to work with even if they know it happened, and even less chance of recovery if they do manage to find it. And thirdly, of course, is the speed. It's instant. There's no verification calls, there's no hold, no waiting period, none of that. So from the infiltrator perspective, crypto was the only extraction method that was fast, anonymous, and permanent. Bank transfers and PayPal, all of those leave a paper trail and then they can be reversed, and they can also trigger automatic fraud alerts on large sums. But crypto has none of those safeguards, which is exactly why it's become the preferred target in this type of robbery. And the irony is that Anton didn't have any, and the very thing they were avoiding, traceable transactions, is actually what saved him from losing anything significant. But when Rat tried to maintain he had nothing, they struck him with the stocks of their firearms approximately 15 times, according to Rat himself.
For about 2 hours, I think I got like hit in my head like 15 times with a gun, which doesn't actually hurt a lot because the adrenaline. I'm not even kidding.
He did, however, say that the adrenaline meant he felt almost nothing at the time though, and that the tape used to restrain him actually caused more discomfort than the blows themselves. Anton has a pre-existing medical condition affecting circulation, which he's never publicly named. Based on what he's described, arms turning severely blue and bruised from tape restraint alone, which was severe enough that police later asked if his arms had been burned, with discoloration still visible weeks later. It sounds consistent with a connective tissue or vascular disorder such as Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, which causes blood vessels that bruise disproportionately from minimal pressure. A platelet or a clotting disorder is another possibility, but again, neither of these were confirmed. It's just what I could find in my research. And when the crypto attempt produced nothing, the men just moved to the bank transfers. So as we spoke about before, Swedish banks automatically freeze large transfers to unfamiliar accounts and require direct verification before processing, so the transfers couldn't go through.
Dude, there's just no money to get. Like, even on my bank, I had money, but you can't get the money out because the bank just instantly locked everything. Even if you want, like, I couldn't even get my money out, even if I want to get my money. Like, I could straight up have a gun to my head and they will be like, yo, either you get this money out or I shoot you. And I'm like, well, I mean, I'm just fucking dead, I guess. Like, you know, it doesn't matter because you can't get the money out.
Following all this though, Anton himself couldn't even touch his own money from that bank for weeks. They then tried PayPal though, and that also kind of failed for the same reasons. Again, what we spoke about earlier. And at one point, one of the men poured gasoline on Anton and held a knife to his stomach, telling him that if he was lying about the crypto, he'd stab him. Obviously, in a panic, Anton then told him to check his email to prove he was telling the truth. So the man checked and Anton was not stabbed because, of course, he was telling the truth.
They pour like gasoline on me. I had like a knife to my stomach. And he was like, yo, if you're crypto and you're lying, I will stab you. And I was like, okay, well, look my email and then you will see I don't have anything. And I did not get stabbed, so I was right.
They then searched the property for any valuables, watches, jewelry, anything worth taking, and found little of resale value. But by the third hour, Rat had been talking with the men long enough that the exchanges had become, by his own description, almost surreal. He asked one of them to leave his PC, to which a man said if he was asking to keep it, there must be something on it that was worth something. But Anton just said it was because he was too lazy to buy a new one, so they left it. He even asked for his ID card back before they left, but they also forgot that too.
Because they were there for so long that like I started talking to them. And in the end, after like 3 hours, we were like doing small jokes. I was like, yo, can you leave my PC? He was like, I mean, you must have something on the PC then. I'm like, no, I'm just too lazy to buy a new one. And then he just left my PC. And like, I was like, yo, can I get my ID card back? He's like, yeah, I'll give it to you before I go.
Then, after 4 hours, they left, taking approximately $7,000 worth of graded Pokemon cards, which I've included his collection on screen, though he hasn't specified exactly which cards were taken. There was a $500 watch missing and a Lamborghini key, but the car that the key belonged to wasn't actually on the property. When Anton's family contacted the insurance company and mentioned the car's value and their $300,000 liability exposure, Rat said it was, quote, like the Avengers spawned in to move it.
So the insurance company didn't want to move the car because it's not home, right? And my mom was like, yeah, okay, you guys can pay the like 300K if they take it. And then the insurance company, I'm not even kidding, they appeared like the fucking Avengers in 1 nanosecond to just move the car.
So when the men left, Rat was still restrained, taking him approximately 20 minutes of biting through the tape to free himself. Luckily, his father, because of his age, had been left largely alone after the initial forced entry and was relatively okay. Following this, Anton called emergency services and police, and an ambulance attended. He spent 10 hours in the emergency department where x-rays were taken of his skull and both hands. And luckily, there was no internal bleeding to the head, which can actually be quite common when adrenaline is involved. You don't really notice anything serious has happened until you've blacked out or something. He did have fractures in multiple fingers though. He sustained those when the men bent them back to try and extract information, though he hadn't registered it actually happening at the time, again due to adrenaline. So his fingers were placed in a cast and he was referred to a hand surgeon who, as it happened, was a diamond top laner and followed Anton's stream. Police took Rat's phone and computer as part of the investigation and he wasn't permitted to return to his home. Then a newspaper got a hold of the story through his brother and published it as a kidnapping attempt, which, while close, is not how the charges were actually filed. The actual charges relate to aggravated assault and breaking and entering, as well as, of course, theft. So with no phone, no computer, and no internet access for roughly the first 2 months, and police requiring Rat to come in around 5 days a week for questioning at a 30-minute drive, Anton had no practical way to address what was being said about him publicly. So he just watched TV and played WoW for 12 hours a day, according to him, on a borrowed setup to help him get through it. He attended one therapy session at the suggestion of police, and after 20 minutes, found it unhelpful and didn't go back. Following the incident, a small number of people were told privately. Drutut was one of them, receiving a message from Anton in the weeks after the attack, along with a photo of his injuries. About a week after hearing what had happened, Drutut sent Anton a ChatGPT-generated rap about him, which Anton has actually said helped just because someone was looking out for him and also making light of the situation, kind of.
It was like singing me on...
I remember running through ChatGPT. Yo, ChatGPT, can you make me a rap verse about RatIRL, a Twitch league streamer? And I fucking rapped that shit to him. I wonder if I can find it, bro. Wait, I found it.
Yo, it's Anton, the rat in the cut. Twitch jungle king, poison erupt. Space glide stealth, one-shot the lane. L9 legend, still bringing the pain. From Stockholm streets to challenger rank. RatIRL streaming, viewers go blank. Poison vial pops, enemies fold. Anton the goat with the rat soul.
So Anton has returned to streaming approximately 5 months after the incident, first appearing on a secondary account before the full story came out during a stream where Drutwit was present and reacting alongside chat. And the community response was mixed. Obviously, a majority of them were concerned, but viewers were asking about the subathon rewards that they never got. Some were even maintaining that it was a scam with some accusations. But of course, Rat addressed those directly, noting that abandoning a 42-day subathon with 20 hours left would make very little sense, obviously. Since then, Rat and his family have relocated to a new house fitted with external cameras and an alarm system, with his previous home kept as a secondary property, a summer house, according to Rat. And 2 of the 3 men have been arrested, but a 3rd remains at large. Rat said the case is expected to take approximately a year to conclude, meaning the insurance claim on the stolen goods can't be settled until that closes. And on the league front, his finger mobility sits at around 90% on the most affected finger, and his right arm has some permanent bruising, but he has reiterated that he is mostly unaffected mentally, losing no sleep, and it's not something he thinks about day to day. No PTSD or anything like that, luckily. But still, the Pokemon cards have not yet been recovered. With all this, Rat is literally streaming right now, appearing to be mostly back to normal with an insane showing of tenacity. This is genuinely one of the craziest stories that I've ever heard happening to a streamer, and one that very easily could have turned tragic. I am really, really glad he's okay. So what do you guys think about this actually crazy story? Let me know down below. And if you appreciate this type of content, be sure to leave a subscribe and a like and all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in a video very, very soon. Bye.